a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Roster-wise, obviously we'll end up having a couple moving pieces here as a result of this, with Erik McCoy's bicep being done for the year and then Kendre's ACL being done for the year. So obviously really unfortunate because both those guys felt like been playing some really good football and they've been doing a lot of good things. And so opportunities for other guys moving forward. We'll have to navigate that and play with those different combinations and sort through that. But coming out of this game, tough loss because you had your chances. The game came down to turnovers in the run game. Those were two of the biggest factors in this game, and they did a better job than we did. But open up for questions.
With Erik, young and being one of y'all's better players, the role he plays, leadership, and everybody really is that like a kind of a double blow on that specific one?
Certainly, he's one of our most impactful leaders on this team, and so other guys are going to have an opportunity to fill that void on the field. I think Erik still has that presence to all these guys, no matter what capacity he's in. He'll do everything he can to help, and I think the world of him. He's been playing some phenomenal football, and so we'll have to navigate the roster as far as how that position ends up playing out. We have about 24 hours to kind of sort through that, and then we'll have to put a plan of action together and move forward with it.
What maybe has impressed you the most with Erik, and what's maybe even caught you off guard with how he carries his business?
Erik's just really, really consistent player. He just doesn't make mistakes, and he just doesn't make mistakes. He's really clean. He executes at a really high level.
What?
His strength, his finish.
Bro,
really
what are you
good.
talking about, man?
He brings that whole group together.
What is the impact on like a young line, just like the communication, the organization, like when you take a guy like that out, like how do you kind of maybe blend that and not let it be an issue?
Yeah, the biggest part will be just the communication aspect. When you have a guy like Erik who's been around this game for a really long time and he can communicate as well as any of them ever have, those other guys are all going to have to work together. It can't just be one person go into that position and say, hey, they need to do everything Erik did. That whole group needs to raise their level of communication. Tackles, guards, center, they all need to communicate at a really high level. There's been some growth in some of those other positions. I think those guys are communicating better and better each week, and so this is going to be a big opportunity for those guys to step it up even more. Yeah, I'm really proud of what Kendre has turned this season into from an individual standpoint, the progress he's made. It's a really unfortunate timing from an injury perspective, just because even that run, yesterday was a really good run. And so, there'll be some challenging days for him because of this. We think the world of him. He's going to be better, moving forward, and he'll be back and have more opportunities in the future.
Was McCoy confirmed to be a bicep tear?
Yeah.
Do you know if that was the same injury he had at the end of last season?
I don't believe so.
How confident are you that the line can respond in Erik's absence, especially like just kind of flipping the switch so quickly?
These guys have rotated a lot, just the way our early part of the season's gone. They've all had to play in different capacities, and so I feel like they'll be able to respond. We'll have to juggle a few pieces. We'll have to decide who that starting group looks like here really shortly, but after that, then let's get those guys going, and they'll respond really well.
On the other side, Quincy starting yesterday, Quincy starting yesterday, of course, the interception, but him starting that time.
I thought Quincy played some really good football. I thought, obviously, the interception, big-time play. They had a lot of scramble opportunities where the play was being extended, and I thought our DBs did an excellent job of continuing what we call plaster, stay connected with guys so they don't give up these explosive plays. Quincy had a big tackle in the red zone on a play where they threw a little screen out to the perimeter. He made an excellent space tackle that essentially put them into a three-point situation off of the first turnover. He's getting better and better each week. I think the world of him. Yeah, we obviously have three guys there who played center in different capacities, and so you got Luke certainly who hopped in there, and I thought did some really good work. Selly's played there, Caesar's played there, and so we'll just work through this in the short little window and make a decision.
When you watched Rattler's film from yesterday, what was the biggest thing that's done?
Yeah, there's some good stuff. There's just, the turnovers. That's the way Chicago's played, and they've done a phenomenal job of creating turnovers. And, obviously it was an unfortunate sequence there. And so it's a growth opportunity. We got to protect the football. It's very, very valuable to these games as far as trying to win them. And, we just got to get better there.
Sure, Devin Neal sees an increased role now. The pass pro rep yesterday got a lot of attention. Just what do you thought of his progression?
Yeah, we've really liked Devin all the way through this whole process. We were fired up when we drafted him. He had an unfortunate injury that limited his preseason exposure. I thought he hopped in there, played some kick return as well. His role obviously will increase quite a bit moving forward. And I think he can do all aspects of the run game, pass game, protections. We're going to count on moving forward.
Do you guys see anything you can do to maybe tighten up the run defenses there? Like a comment right there with maybe some of the issues that have done. Yeah,
I think there's going to be some healthy discussions as a result of that. Gap integrity, the backside, just squeezing space there, and then obviously we got to play really well fitting it, in the combinations, and so there was just some missed ops there, and then ultimately the tackling is an important aspect. They created more broken tackles than we did, and had a huge impact on all those explosive plays.
And then, some of the third lines, obviously that's an ongoing thing. Like, are there opportunities there, or just not getting those because everything's being taken away? Like, are there shots maybe that you could take that I'm getting took? Like, what's kind of the issue?
Just a combination. I got to do a better job there. Obviously you want to avoid those, but they're going to show up in games. That's what happens, and we got to find a way to convert some of them. It's a combination of the downfield opportunities that are there. I got to create more of them for us, and got to put ourselves in better situations to be successful there, because we got to steal some conversions. We're way too low compared to, I know the odds are low, but we're way too low. So we got an opportunity there. We got to grow.
You talked about a few times about play calling and stuff. I mean, how do you self-evaluate that as a head coach? What you're doing during the game, play calling?
Yeah, just continue to evaluate it. Obviously, we have a lot of conversations through the week and during the game as a staff, and so we're close. We've had our moments where we feel like we're playing some really good football. The middle eight, I felt like okay, this is, if we can just keep replicating this is what we need right here. We moved the ball, got stuck on a fourth down, unfortunate stop there. Then we go score, then we come back and score. The momentum's going, and then turnover bug got back into us, and so we got to play better there, and I got to keep finding different ways.
All right, shout out to the fam. I appreciate y'all for being in the stream. Welcome. Now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you being in the live on this one. The Saints Monday after Saints lost to the Chi-Town Bears. Very hard loss. But in this episode, man, we're going to kind of look at some things. Cover some news, a lot of stuff you heard Kellen Moore talking about, dealing with the injuries that is mounted. We'll cover that, as well as look at what possibly could be for the Saints. Tuesday is usually a day where the Saints kind of bring some guys in to try out. We'll see what the news is tomorrow. But in terms of what's going on with the team, we'll cover the news, and also we'll talk about 15 things. All right, we'll cover that in this broadcast. We'll talk about 15 good points, bad points that happened in the Saints game against the Bears. The Saints are a 1-6 football team, and only one team in the history of the NFL ever went 1-6 and made the playoffs. That was the 1970 Cincinnati Bengals. They started 1-6, went 8-6, and lost in the AFC divisional playoff game. So they're not even mathematically eliminated, but my goodness, it's a lot of stuff going wrong in the land of the Who Dats. And I keep hearing this stuff with they saying that they're close. We're close. One-score games. But it's the thing is, the game is there. It's there, man, on tape. It's there on tape. It's there. Just make the play. What do we mean we close? I don't understand the logic. This is gobbledygook, fam. We're close. All of them prattling the same talking point. That we're close. We're close to win. The points are the game is before you. What is this close stuff? Catch the ball, make the tackle, call the correct play. That what is this stuff about we're close? I just make the damn play. And it's just the stuff with McCoy, and I feel bad for McCoy that he's out with another injury that pretty much knocked him off the season. But I've been kind of warning people about Erik McCoy, that his game has been trending down the last several years. He's key. He's mounting a lot of injuries. And unfortunately, this would happen to some of these guys in the trenches that play in the NFL. It's a physical sport, and it beats up on guys. And eventually, you'll have to look for people to replace them. And I was saying that. I've been saying that for the last couple of years because I've watched his play not be the same. Prior to this even happening, I was looking at footage of McCoy. I've never seen Erik miss so many blocks or look so confused out there. I was wondering if he was hurt before. I was like, is this guy hurt and he's not reporting it? It had to be some reason that he hasn't looked the same. He hasn't been his dominating self. And he's trending down health-wise, and these injuries keep getting mounted time after time. So he's out, and this is something the Saints will have to eventually have to look at down the road. Well, anyway, let's get right into the injury. Shout out to y'all. Y'all do me a service. Hit the like button. You're listening on X. Do me a service and retweet. Hit me and give me a retweet on X. Help your boy in the Sports Coma out on X, man. Trying to do that thing over there. Big Upside fam on IG and all other places, LinkedIn, everybody. Shout out to everybody. Y'all hit the like button. Saints lose star center to season-ending bicep injury. 1-6 start on the Saints must now continue the campaign without center Erik McCoy. Not much has gone well for the Saints during the 2025 campaign, and now things have gotten much worse after the devastating injury. Starting center Erik McCoy is believed to have suffered a torn biceps, and you heard that Coach Moore did mention that. Coach Moore did talk about that and said that it is he confirmed it. And so did Ian Rapoport. Once confirmed, McCoy will be ruled out for the remainder of the season. Before suffering his injury, McCoy earned a 68.1 grade from PFF, ranking 13 out of 49 centers. He was absolutely dominant against the pass as his rating was high. Needless to say, McCoy's loss will be a major absence from the now 1-6 Saints. Unfortunately, center injuries have been nothing new. He's managed to make the Pro Bowl in 2024. I don't even count that. That was not a Pro Bowl year last year in 2024. They basically gave him that. McCoy played in just 7 games due to an elbow injury. McCoy entering the year coming off groin surgery. While this will now be a lost year for center, he's locked in with the Saints through 2027. When healthy, he will continue to be the team's offensive line building block. New Orleans invested back-to-back first-round picks on tackles Kelvin Banks and Tali Fuaga in trio, including McCoy. The Saints hope they'll have a formidable front for whoever is playing quarterback for the foreseeable future. But for now, New Orleans will be without the starting center. It'll become even more difficult for Elvin, who's campaigning to gain yards on the ground, especially consider the Saints ranked 24th in rushing with just over 101 yards per game with McCoy in the lineup. Coach McCoy has dealt with plenty of adversity in his first year with the Saints. Now he must continue his debut without his starting center. And it's just a very difficult thing to talk about with Erik McCoy. Like I said, McCoy is fantastic. He's one of a fantastic player. He has not looked the same to me on footage and all this kind of stuff. I have not. If you watched him from the past, his game is trending down, and these injuries are accruing to the point where you can't really rely on him because he's constantly in and out of the lineup. When this happened, it's time for you to start looking at having a young replacement behind him while you still have him under contract. They said from 2027, you kind of groom a young guy to come up, and maybe Torrey Simpkins can be that guy. You know, we know Luke Fortner will operate as the starting center right now, but for the future standpoint, you might want to look at having a guy that you can kind of build up. It's damn sure ain't Cesar Ruiz, right? So anyway, it's just unfortunate for McCoy, and he'll be back next year. And it's just one more thing to a very daunting season that we're dealing with, right? Unfortunate with Erik McCoy, but like I said, when he was such a good player, and right now it just hasn't. You know, it just at some point, and it's just football, you just have to start looking at and, you know, finding a young replacement behind him. So when the time comes, because, you know, these injuries are not going to stop. They're going to keep happening. It's, as far as him getting older and older and older, it's just what it is. It's physical in the center of that offensive line. So over the last 4 years, McCoy has like missed 24 games, something like that. He missed 4 in 2022. In 2023, how many games did he miss in 2023? I don't think he missed any games that year. And he missed 10. He missed 10 last year. with like 10 games or something like that last year, and 10 and 25. So it's going to be, that's 20, 10, 20, and then the 4 and 22. That's 24 games over the last 4 seasons. That's a lot of games missed. And like I said, it's you know, you have to be able to see when that starts happening. You're going to have to start adding and picking up and drafting guys that can, or, you know, bringing in some talent or cross-training and getting Torrey Simpkins ready to make a move if that's your guy. But I said, like, when we talked about the Saints offensive line, when we started eventually talking draft, the reality is that the Saints will have to start really retooling these. They have to work from the inside out. They're going to have to work from the inside out. And that starts with them totally kind of revamping the center of the Saints offensive line and the interior of the defensive line. Those lines we just gave up 200 yards rushing. And then the offensive line is not doing a good enough job to open up lanes for the Saints running attack. So obviously the problem relies in the Saints lines. They have very weak lines. And that's with the starters in there. So, you know, a change has to happen. We have to find better players there. Anyway, let's keep pushing, man. As McCoy's done for the year, another injury befell the Saints' running back Kendre Miller suffered an ACL tear, and that pretty much puts his season on ice. Backup running back Kendre Miller, who's having a phenomenal start to his year, exited the contest with a knee injury. Kellen Moore admitted to that, and it'll be significant, and tests has proven the case that Miller suffered an ACL tear, as first reported by Jordan Schultz. As a result, the third-year running back will turn his attention to a lengthy rehab process. Miller, 14 appearances across his 10 campaigns in the NFL, dealing with different ailments along the way during that span. Former third-round running back handled the role, coming in the complementary role behind Alvin Kamara and Devin Neal. He was basically, not to say he was an insurance back, but the Saints knew that Kendre Miller hadn't proved himself, you know, for a full season. And they made a good selection to get Devin Neal, the fantastic young running back from Kansas. So the 2025 Miller began to take a larger workload. The 23-year-old had already set new career highs in attempts for 47 and rush yards 193 prior to suffering the injury. Miller averaged over 4 yards a carry. Also was his personal best. He could be in store for another uptick in usage of the upcoming season, depending on the nature of his recovery and how the Saints proceed at that spot. Now, AK-41 has been mentioned as a trade candidate based on New Orleans' position is likely a seller ahead of the deadline. A lifetime Saint hopes to remain in place, though, and honoring that request would allow for Kamara to continue atop the depth chart moving forward. Even in that event, Miller could handle a regular backup gig upon returning to full health. As of a pending 2027 market, the TCU product will need to avoid further injuries next year to generate a strong market. With Kamara still in the fold for at least the time being, he will be counted on to remain the focal point of the Saints offense. The Saints also have like I mentioned, Devin Neal in line for an increased role with the team. Also, to make mention of the fact that if you look at the practice squad for the Saints, they have a running back on the practice squad, is Velus Jones Jr. The Saints did bring Velus Jones Jr. back if they want to bring somebody in to kind of help them with the running back role. Velus Jones Jr. is a speedster and has potential there. He can line up and do different things. He can return for you in the special teams. He could be a wide receiver, split out and be a receiver. He's a speedy guy that's very versatile back there. Will be a good complement to the run. But you also have Taysom Hill, who you can use as a running back as well. So having Velus there, bringing him in, it could be a thing the Saints do. For Miller going down. So Velus is there. As far as Erik McCoy going out, Fortner would step up, but the Saints could also pivot to the practice squad again and utilize, because they do have 2 offensive linemen. One is Easton Kilty. I don't think he'll be in there, but there is another offensive lineman, William Sherman, the 6'4", 6'5" offensive guard from Colorado, 1-year guy, 6'4", 300 pounds, who's on the Saints practice squad. So the Saints can bring him up if they want to or need to, or simply see if they can try out other guys and sign them on like they did several weeks ago when they were looking at helping out with injuries that started to hit the team. The Saints brought in multiple players for tryouts to try to kind of add to the team. So that is it continues the mount for the Saints. And let's take a look at that. Matter of fact, the injury situation. This is our injury list: Julian Blackmon, Vernon Brockton, Will Clapp, Bub Means, Trey Palmer, Mason Pline, Jalen Polk, John Ridgeway is healthy. He just hadn't activated him. Nick Seldaveri, Barry Wesley, and Landon Young. Those are the guys that are currently on our practice squad. So tough news, losing our best backup running back and also losing our star center is going to hurt, but Luke Fortner will step in. He'll get the reps at the center position, so he'll have to build a repartee with Spencer Rattler. And speaking of Spencer Rattler, he has been given a nod. So Spencer is not as a performance he had a struggle in this against the Bears in Chi-Town. Spencer Rattler will remain the starter for the Saints. That's right, he will remain the starter for now, but they kind of leaving the door open for a change, and he said it'll be week to week. So Spencer's given a nod, and NOLA.com covered it. After he committed 4 turnovers in last week's loss to the Bears, Spencer Rattler will remain as a starting quarterback for the Saints this Sunday against the Bucs. But with the second-round pick Tyler Shuck waiting in the wings, Saints head coach Kellen did not dismiss the possibility of a change at the position later in the season. Asked if there would will come to a point when the Saints will have to take a look at Shuck in a starting role, Moore said, quote, "That's a week-to-week. We'll see as we go. We're focused on getting better right now. Spencer obviously had a game where some turnovers occurred. We get to respond," end quote. Rattler has started each of the Saints' first 7 games of the season and has won some admirers for his play despite the Saints' 1-6 record. He threw 6 touchdown passes against just 1 interception in the first 6 games, and the Saints in competitive position for losses. Like I said, it ain't nobody's when you're 1-5, nobody's innocent in the 1-5 team or 1-6 team. My bad. But a quarterback's going to take a hefty amount of the burden, and it's unfair. We know it's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. It simply is. It is life. That he's at a very high profile position. And despite that, I personally think Spencer Rattler has done a decent job as a young signal caller. Of course, he can get better. Of course, he can progress faster. Of course, he can do some things better. He'll admit that to you. And it's just one of these situations where the Saints still feel that they're in this thing because you don't pivot. You still feel the Saints still feel that they got an opportunity to salvage the season. Because if they didn't feel that way, they would have put Tyler Shuck in and just lift whatever the rookie does. Spencer Rattler is doing. They believe they could still salvage this thing. So he said he gave him the right to respond, which means after a bad game, can I fix it? Can I come back and have a good game? Well, we'll see. This is not going to be an easy thing, and none of it never is. But Spencer Rattler's numbers right now, you got to take a look at it. His numbers aren't that bad. 1,400 yards, which is 12th in the NFL. He has only 8 touchdowns, tied 20th in the NFL, only 4 picks, which is decent. His QBR is 55.7, which is 17th in the NFL. So, a lot of things would be different if guys was different and doing things different, like when he throws them the damn ball, catching it, all that kind of beautiful stuff. That would really be so cool to see happen. But right now, it's just a good thing where Spencer Rattler gives an opportunity. I personally thought that they were going to yank him out of there. That's what I thought. I thought they were going to pull him out of there, but the Saints still feel like they have an opportunity to kind of fix some stuff and go forward. Now, there were several interviews that occurred. There were several interviews that were on the Saints put up on their website from the locker room. Cam Jordan's interview, Elvin spoke. I listened to, what's the guy, Juwan Johnson's interview. I'm just sick of that guy. I really am. But there's, looking at these guys and seeing you at 1-6 and you're a leader, it's just difficult because, you want to see these guys have fire in their belly. You want to see them be pissed off like you're pissed off. We are better than this, but we're not doing what we're supposed to do. Even the simpler stuff that they're paying you to do, fundamental stuff like catch and block. They can't do that, and it's just horrible. But in the end, you know, the Kellen Moore, delusional or not, however, they're going to play and try to see if they can kind of salvage this thing. But like I said, they're not mathematically eliminated, and they got a big hole they got to dig themselves out. And it's going to be interesting watching these folks do it. But this is the thing. All right, so anyway, man, let's kind of do this. Let's get to the point, man, where I kind of get into the 15 good points and bad points. I'm not trying to keep you guys. Y'all hit the like button for me. I see you. Shout out to everybody in the OG, Gundam, Prime. All you guys, appreciate you. The Queens, I see y'all out there. Much love to y'all. Not trying to keep you guys long on the Monday after, the Saints Monday after show. But listen, these are some of the points that I was able to look at. We're doing the film work. Will be ready for tomorrow, family, for our Patreon champions and YouTube membership. We'll have the film done. So the film work being done. So y'all, if y'all want to check that out, for guys that's not, please feel free to go to www.patreon.com/Pro Media Network. You can see the links are in the chat or in the description section below, or simply join our YouTube page here. You'll have access to the catalog of locked content on your Patreon and locked content on our YouTube page. It is years of locked content here and film study, film work, Tuesdays, dozens of shows that are locked content. So it's a good value. All right. Anyway, these are the good points and bad points. Starting with the good points. We always start with the good. The Saints offense showed flashes of explosiveness. That's number one. For example, Spencer Rattler connected with Chris Olave twice for 2 touchdowns. That's a positive. We've been looking for the flash plays, the explosives, the lightning plays, and they gave it to us. They just didn't give enough of them. One more touchdown changes the outcome of the game, and a field goal. We missed a field goal there, but we'll talk about that. But we've seen the flashes. The flashes were good. We just need them more and consistent. If we can get our offense to get 3 touchdowns a game, I think they can begin the process of crawling out of the hole. They can really start crawling, because when the offense suffer and they 3 and out, that puts too much pressure on that defense, and you can see what happens. You lean on the Saints defense too much, they break and fall apart and allow 200 yards rushing. Number 2, Chris Olave had a strong individual game. He had 5 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns, bouncing back after some criticism. He's dropped the touchdown pass in the prior to this game, and he came back with a 2 touchdown performance. He is under pressure to perform. Chris Olave is under pressure, big time to perform. He's facing not a contract year, but there are rumors circulating about Chris Olave and the Saints working on a new contract. You know, and people saying they're kind of looking at that thing, but there are rumors. You know, that's the Saints have been, and I think it was what's her name, the lady, what's her name, Deanna Rossini leaked it. Deanna, she released it or leaked it rather, that she heard that the Saints and Chris Olave are working on an extension. We don't know how true it is, but we'll see how it is. But his contracts and what he could be possibly looking for, I don't think he'll get Garrett Wilson money, but they'll look for a happy ground between there. So we'll see what it is. So his health history would make the contracts a little complicated, but you know, they have 9 receivers that make $30 million annually, and Olave, I don't think he's one of those guys because of the injury history, but we'll see where the money ends up. But Mickey Loomis, who has questionable in terms of his contract stuff, I think he'll give Chris Olave that money. We'll see what it is, and we'll see if it's true. But right now, it's simply in the midst of rumorville. So anyway, let's keep it going. Shout out to Chris Olave. Number 3, rookie cornerback Quincy Riley had a positive impact. He intercepted the pass, which is an encouraging sign for the younger part of the defense. Quincy Riley picked off the ball. He's seen it. He's been making plays. Quincy Riley's been making plays. Isaac Yiadom set down. He had the injury. The Saints set him down, which was the right move. They put Quincy Riley out there, and Kool-Aid McKinstry. These guys are up and down. But Quincy Riley's really been playing pretty solidly. He's a ball hawk. He makes good tackles, And I like Quincy Riley. I think he is going to be a young player for our secondary that's going to be very good. Number 4, the Saints defensive unit forced a 3-and-out on Chicago's first possession, showing they can still punch early and disrupt. I wonder if the momentum that the Saints had with that first drive when they were able to march Chicago off the field, that if the offense for the Saints had met them with the same energy and scored a touchdown, the outcome of the game would have been radically different, because the momentum would have been with the Saints and the defense would have just carried that. But they did not match. It did not equal, and the Bears were able to stay within that realm close, and then they started putting stuff together with field goals, and then the Saints got behind too late. The number 5, the Saints offense at times moved the ball. IG the 91-yard drive in 5 plays to pull up 20-7 right before halftime. That was a positive. And number 6, despite the loss, Rattler threw for over 233 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and indicated some capabilities to move the ball through the air. You've seen Rattler attacking downfield. Yeah, he had a couple of bad throws. The one where he was trying to tell Rashid Shaheed to run, he just overthrew him. If he'd have laid it on him, that would have been a touchdown. He overthrew him. He kind of overthrew the man to safety. Well, he probably wouldn't have ran because they had the safety right ahead, but he would have gotten a big chunk to get upfield. So we want him to throw downfield, right? We want Spencer. He had 233 yards. We want him to attack downfield. He had 2 flash plays, and he was trying to throw the ball down the field. He did get their interception, overthrowing the guy, that kind of stuff. But in the end, I do give him credit for trying to move the ball and stretch the field, which is what we need him to do. We need him to stretch the field. We need him to do that. Now, he kind of had to overthrow. We just have to live with it. But I can appreciate him attempting to get vertical, right? Number 7, the Saints shows resilience. Even after falling behind badly, they had a successful scoring drive to cut the lead, showing they haven't given up. So getting back, they just taking, being resilient at points, but it's not enough. Like if the resilience have to be consistent and in line. Like you have you don't get resilient then fall back into comatose. You don't get resilient then fall back into you see what I'm saying? It's like sputtering resilience, which I don't even know if that's a real thing, but the Saints are showing that this sputtering resilience thing where they get resilient then and go comatose. They get resilient then go. You have to be able to put it together consistently to be able to really feel the full effect of it. So you see it. We just need more of it and more steady energy there. Right. So number 8, on special teams, they attempted a 53-yard field goal. They missed it. The willingness to take the shot indicates they had confidence in Blake Grupe. That was the only one he missed. But the Saints have been relying on Blake Grupe a lot this season. That's because the offense is not scoring in the red zone, and Blake is getting a lot more opportunities than he thought he would get. And he, that was a tough one, giving him the 53-yarder. He can kick at that distance. He just didn't line it up. He didn't get it where it was. It kind of got off his foot kind of funny, and it just missed. If he kind of got a little bit into it and turned it, it could have been a field goal that was worth something. It's just something to look at. The younger players are getting meaningful snaps in number 9 right here. In the secondary, it could pay off long term if the short term, the results weren't great. They leveraged that Quincy Riley pick. So a lot of the young people, we've seen Danny Stutzman in the game. We've seen Isaiah Stallbird in the game. We've seen Christian Boyd in the game. So we've seen a lot of our young players get in the game to try to help the Saints and get very valuable game reps. That is good. Number 10, the Saints offense showed improved tempo in certain drives. The 91-yarder, 5-play possession, which serves as a blueprint. The Saints have to take that and manufacture it. Wash and repeat. Wash and repeat. Wash and repeat. What they did on that 91-yard, 5-possession play where they scored, they have to wash and repeat. They were moving the ball pretty good. They had a good rhythm. If the Saints start fast, if they have to jump into a 2-minute offense to gain a rhythm, then do that. They need to speed the game up. It's too slow. They need to speed it up. They need to speed it up and get into a rhythm faster. Jump into that 2-minute offense, jump back out, kind of fluster your opponents, get moving. Number 11, the coaching staff appears willing to adjust and recognize the need for change. We got to find the formula that works. So they're searching for a way at 1-6, and they better find it fast, because time is a wasting, and opportunities to win are wasting along with it. Number 12, the Saints receiving corps showed potential. Olave clearly can be a focal point, and that's important to build around. He's been getting it handed to him these several weeks back because of the drops and how ineffective things are with the team. But him, you can see, was dancing in there, and it probably felt good for him to get in the end zone because you're facing this contract thing, and he has the catches, he has the touchdowns, and maybe this is something where the Saints can say, okay, we were able to get this, we stretching the field, because if they were doing some of this, more of this in some of these previous games, might have had an impact, force it down the field, test these people out. Number 13, the fact that the defense forced a turnover, which is Riley interception, showed the capacity to flip momentum. That was a positive as well. Saints took the ball away. We couldn't do nothing with it, though. You gotta do something with turnovers. Number 14, even in a bad outing overall, there were moments where the team looked competitive offensively, which gives something to build on. They weren't a total shit show, in other words, is what I wrote down. These are observations that I wrote, that I kind of typed up and wrote down for what I was seeing. And as you can see, it was some things that kind of look at and be like, yeah, this is like taking those flash plays, the touchdowns, and studying them and just going all of our best to make this happen. A positive was the trick play that the Saints had, where they flipped the ball to Taysom Hill, and Taysom Hill, threw the ball to Taysom Hill, and Taysom Hill threw the ball on the line, which they stopped it. He should have threw it on back passed it to Alvin Kamara. He'd have done that. That was been a really good game. That the trick play was awesome. Doing that, we need more of that. I like that. I love that play. We need to see more of these type of fun plays to spark the offense and get it going, right? And number 15, the Saints showed a spark of hope in the second half. The drive to score after a big deficit suggested they had some fight in them, which they did show some consistency. Now, listen, this is a point too, right? That at the end of the first half, the Saints hit a touchdown, right? They went into halftime. They sat down. They had some Gatorade in the locker room. They talked about it. Then they came out of the halftime and scored another touchdown. You see, in other words, the break did not stop their offensive momentum. Which is interesting. You would think it would, but listen to what I'm saying. The Saints scored at the last play, I think it was, or the last. In the back end of the second quarter going into halftime. They come out of halftime and score again. The break did not separate or throw off their momentum. They still were able to put two touchdowns together, one at the end and one at the beginning of halftime. So that is also something positive to look at. It's like, damn, we took a break, came out, talked about it, and went right back to business. Why can't we do this? That is something that needs to be studied by Kellen Moore and the rest of these guys. That they have the ability to move the ball, they just don't move it enough. We have to be able to have more of that, study that, and wash and repeat, add some plays in there, and we got to do something differently, right? We have to. Those are positive things. Those are 15 things that I gave you that are positive. Now, let's talk about the bad or the ugly. This Saints Monday after, right? Number 1, the Saints turned the ball over 4 times in the game, 3 interceptions and a fumble. Huge negative, right? That Spencer, all those 3 interceptions and a fumble, that's a huge negative. That I don't need to expound on that. Number 2, the run defense collapsed. The Bears rushed for 222 yards with backs averaging 6 yards per carry. That is catastrophe. That is a catastrophe. Number 3, they fell behind early, 20-0 in the first half, meaning they allowed the Bears to jump on them and dictate the tempo. The Saints defense were forcing the Bears to kick field goals until they allowed them to get the touchdown. The offense has to respond within that time frame to scale out, because as you can see, at first the defense wasn't garbage. They fell apart because of the pressure. The offense wasn't simply doing enough. You can't Put your defense out there like that. The defense gave them turnover. They didn't do anything with it. If you get a turnover, you got to do something with it, right? Number 4, the special teams issues. Blake Group A continues to struggle, lowering confidence in the unit overall. Number 5, the team's inability to sustain momentum. Flashes of good plays were not consistent enough, as noted in the game, as we just talked about. It's not the momentum, the sustaining of the momentum is huge. We have to sustain the momentum and keep this thing going. Momentum sustain, right? Number 6, the Saints' run game offensively did not make enough impact compensation for the defensive lapses. They couldn't control the ground as the Bears did. The Bears the linebackers were moving around. Very rarely did you see Saints offensive linemen get to the second level and put hands on Edmonds and push him out. If in reverse, when we watch the tape, I'm going to show you how the Chicago Bears offensive linemen were not only shedding off the defensive linemen, but were able to get to the second level and put hands on DeMario and Pete Werner and move them out of the way so the running backs could get going. That's why those lanes a lot of times are so wide open. The defensive line up front from the Saints were now winning their one-on-one matchups. That's the only way that happens if a lineman gets free to go hit the line to get it. Somebody got to command a double team. The Saints are getting manhandled on one-on-one. They're not winning the one-on-one battles here. So the loose man gets to the linebacker level and blocks him out. And it's just what it is. The Saints' run game offensively did not make enough impact, compensate for those lapses. Couldn't control the ground as the Bears did. We talked about that. Number 7, the time of possession. Shift and momentum issues. Once behind, they struggled to flip control back. The time of possession went their way, and that is due to the fact that they had a strong running attack. The Bears put up 200-something yards. They can be able to dominate, control the clock, plus the Saints were turnover prone. That is a recipe for disaster if you're trying to get a dub. Number 7, the time of possession, shift and momentum. Once behind, I talked about that. Number 8, the turnover margin and early deficit put the Saints in a hole, which they were then forced to play catch-up, reducing the margin for error, which means they had to put the ball in the air more than what they wanted, which led to some interceptions. Right? Number 9, defensive fatigue, a lack of stopgap in the run game, giving up big chunks of yards on the ground repeatedly. Defense worn down. Chicago wore the Saints' interior or the defensive line down. Saints couldn't get pressure on them, and they were able to pile up yardage between 2 running backs that were able to punish the Saints. Number 10, offensive line, or at least the run blocking, may have underperformed given the inability to establish a consistent ground attack and protect consistently, which has been the story of the year for the Saints. They have not been able to consistently, outside of the Buffalo Bills game, put up a bunch of yards there. It just has not been able to be, it hadn't been a factor. So, number 11, coaching game management. The fact that the team allows such a large early lead suggests issues with preparation or execution, which obviously is the key, right? We know off the top that for the New Orleans Saints to improve, they need better play calling. That's why I mentioned the little trick play that they ran. We don't see a lot of those type of plays. The Saints still have the full bevy of all their wide receivers. Elvin's still there. We lose Kendra, the backup, but we still have Elvin. We still have Taysom. We still have Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. We still have these players, and we can even throw Velus Jones Jr. in there. When they can activate him and throw him in there too, because he's also a player that brings a spark to the offense. But the Saints need to do a better job in preparation and executing. If they're practicing like this and they come into the game, there's no reason why it's that they're losing. So they have to have attention to detail, and everybody has to hunker down and pay attention to the playbook and spend a little extra time working on this stuff, man. I haven't heard any, once again, if the Saints are really serious about winning, I haven't heard anything from these goddamn team captains calling for team meetings, a team-only meeting. Like I said, good teams would not let this happen. Where are the captains? These guys are so used to losing that when are you going to wait to call a team-only meeting and get this stuff straight and start having accountability to rule the day? There's only so much these coaches can stand up before you and tell you what to do. You got to own it on the field. You got to make the catch in the block. You got to know who you blocking. You got to know what you're doing. Where these captains at to call the player only meetings? What, you gonna wait till you're 1-8 before you call it? Well, we 1-8 now. Well, Tomorrow Davis calls a team only meeting. Man, come on, man. Come on. Where the leaders are? Where are the leaders? Where are the leaders and the players to take responsibility for this shameful play? It's terrible. Number 12, injury problems. In the same game, the Saints lost Erik McCoy for the season with a torn bicep, further weakening the center position. Now, McCoy wasn't playing like all that to me. But losing him, and you have Luke Fortner that you will be exposed to, and having him there is also a downgrade in the line, which means the Saints going to have a lot of tosses left, a lot of tosses right. And they were tossing left and right. They wasn't gaining a lot of yards running up the middle when McCoy was there anyway, or was Cesar Ruiz there. So, at some point, Kellen Moore got to start looking at that tape and making some tough decisions on who these guys need to be. Because I see Penning getting beat and walk back. I see Cesar getting beat. I seen McCoy get stood up several times in this game. Like, they were not pushing these guys off the line. They weren't pushing them off. So anyway, the Saints' red zone efficiency for point number 14 appears to lag. They've limited scoring before the big drive and failed to convert early, prolonged drives into points. The Saints get down into the red zone. When they finally get there, they're not converting at the high clip. They get nervous, or whatever happens, it doesn't end well. It always ends in 3. That has to change. If you want to turn games around, you have to score points in the red zone. You have to when you get to the red zone, you have to ratchet up that offense. You got to go to a level or 2 higher, and we have to get these guys in there. We have to get them in there. We need to incorporate find a role for Veli too. Brandon Cooks doesn't need to be starting. I don't know why Nussmeier and Kellen Moore has Brandon Cooks in the top 3. Veli needs to start and needs to stay as long as Kristen Rashid is there. Veli needs to be in the top 3, not Brandon Cooks. Veli needs to be out there. You put Cooks out there in the 4 package, and 4 wide receiver package, but in 3 it needs to be Veli because his size is important. Spencer Rattler can throw the ball up to him. He has a huge catch radius. You got to put him out there. If you have him split and you throwing at him, I'll throw the ball up at him. He'll go and get it in the red zone. They have to. I don't know why they're not putting that man out there. I don't understand. You need his size out there. That'll make the game a lot easier for Spencer Rattler when he throwing to a 6'5" guy that runs a high 4.3 speed. And then finally, the 15th bullet point, the cumulative record. 1-6, and the nature of the loss signals systematic issues rather than just one-off a bad game. That's what I was saying, before I blew a gasket in the last broadcast, because I got really pissed because the Saints are not owning this stuff. They're pretending like, oh, yeah, we're close, because they keep saying this close stuff. You're not close. Even if the game was they close. No. You have to go and grab it. What are they talking about close? What are you talking about close? No, you go and grab the game. You take possession of the game by catching the ball when it's thrown to you, by blocking guys and pushing them off the line and dominating. Making a play. That's how you win the game. Nobody's going to hand you the game on a platter. You got to take it. What is this close stuff? That's loser talk, man. And that's what I was saying about some of these veterans, man. These guys have been losing for so long. They just sitting up here just trying to listen, man, if you got a problem, right, you want somebody to tell you the truth. You don't need nobody placating to you. You don't need nobody feeding you bull jive. You need somebody, if you got a problem, or a character flaw, something that you want to fix, or whatever the case, you want the truth. You don't need nobody telling you all right, all this their fault. Man, no. Whoever telling you that, they're not for you. They're not for you if you don't have anybody to tell you the truth about yourself or tell you the truth about what's going on with this team. That's a real leader. A real leader will say, hey, man, the problem is we're not doing what we're supposed to do here. We're not making the tackles consistently. We're not making the catches. And it ain't about no being close. It's about going and take the game away from the opponent. That's what it comes down. It's the truth. The game is a power dynamic. It's about who wants it more. That's what it comes down to. The Saints come out here with this loser talk. At the end of the game, they're not pissed off. They're not mad about nothing. You know why? Because they're getting paid. They're getting a check. They're not upset and mad about losing no game. They're getting paid. Win, lose, or draw, we get paid. The only people pissed and upset and blowing gaskets is you and me. All these other guys, you don't see their face. I've seen their interviews. I've seen all their interviews. They're not pissed about nothing. They talking, the talking point is we're close. This dude said, yeah, we're close. No, you ain't. What are you talking about? You go and grab you take the game away from these people. You take it away from them. This close stuff. If Jawan Johnson catches the ball consistently, you have an opportunity. Your chances of winning goes up. When the guy catches the ball and don't fumble the ball. When guys catch the ball when they're in the touchdown, you're gonna heighten your chances to win the game. When guys know who they're blocking, or when linemen get off their lazy asses and slide off of the defensive lineman that they're playing to get to the next level to take them out so you can help your running back gain some yardage, that's what you're supposed to do. That helps you. That heightens your chance to win the game. What is this close stuff about? Sitting up here talking about we close and you 1-6. How are you talking about, man? What are we talking about here? That's why I got upset, because the other guy got up there, the guy with the basket on his head got up there at the end of the game talking about, yeah, we don't need to take a hammer to it. We just need a screwdriver to tweak. So what are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? No. You take a hammer and you destroy all of this, because number one, we're not going to sit up here and just watch you stink and you keeping these people together. So just to play nice, enough of that. These are your leaders talking like this. You're not going to win any games. You're not going to turn anything around unless people get fired up. They have to have a breakthrough. They got to get out of their malaise. They got to wake up and break out of their malaise. These people are zombies on a sinking ship. And you got people yelling at you, hitting the it's panic button time. You're 1-6. You're 1-6, and you're about to start hitting into your NFC South schedule. These people are way ahead of you. It's panic time. Yeah, it's panic time. You got one victory, and you're talking about we close. No, you're not close. Because if you were as good as you thought you were, you would have been making the touchdown grabs, making the blocks that's needed. What are you talking about close? So in the end, man, that's my thought process. And that's my synopsis. The game for the Saints was a mix of encouraging flashes and glaring problems. It's a systematic failure is what I'm saying. On the positive side, you see the foundational pieces, the promising young cornerbacks, making plays. Chris Olave stepping up, having the flash plays that we want. And then you have these offensive struggles. On the negative side, the run defense collapsed, the turnovers kill the rhythm, injuries are starting to mount up, and then the margin of error is vanished. You can't have a high margin of error if you're a mistake-prone team like the Saints. You have to play as clear and as perfect as you possibly can to get the win, because you can't afford to make all these mistakes. You got to keep your penalties down. Guys got to make the catches when the ball is thrown to them. They got to make the proper calls to take advantage of the talent they have. They have to change the lineup to allow Veli to play more with Olave and Shaheed. They have to be able to still attack downfield with the two burners in Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. They got to continue to make that a point of emphasis to stretch the field. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And in terms of the defense continues to keep playing young personnel. That's what we need to see. I've seen Danny Stutzman get on the field when they took Pete Werner and Demario Davis. His guys was missing tackles. They also had Stallbird out there. Quincy Riley's doing good. You see Jonas Sanker. Still, he made a few mistakes, but he's young. Jordan Howden was out there having some play. You seen Christian Boyd get out there and play. So the Saints are giving opportunities to these young people. We have to keep this thing going. You got to make it count some kind of way. So in the end, Kellen Moore keeps talking. The Saints, we'll see. They'll practice this week, and we'll keep it moving and see what progress this team's make. So that's what I got for y'all on this Monday after. All right, if you like that, hit the like button, man. Do a service and hit the sub button. Also, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all for being in this Monday Live. Listen, I'll be back Tuesday on Patreon for our YouTube and Patreon members. Family will do the film work on this Saints and Chi-Town Bears film. We'll go over it and break it down. And for the rest of those who's not members of the channel, you can feel free to go to patreon.com/Pro Media Network, or you can feel free to simply become a member of the channel. You have access to dozens of just hundreds of shows, I want to say, of lock content available. Also, feel free to check out the pro shops. The links in the description section below, and check out our fantastic sponsors, man. All that is also below. So with that being said, man, y'all have a fantastic rest of y'all day, and I'm going to holler at you on Tuesday. Much love. Peace. Who dat?
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who dat. I'm a who dat. Long as I'm living, I'm a who dat. Lose or winning, I'm a who dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who dat. I'm a who dat. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like elf. I thank God every day I'm not a felt. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Fucking on Tampa, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this, and I'm a who dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a who dat. Lose or winning, I'm a who dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this, and I'm a who dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the Riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with the WhoDatDaily.com, your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit the WhoDatDaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation. Stay in the NO, you stay in the know.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, Everything's crafted right here in New Orleans, whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids. We've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or in the chat.